Ladies and gentlemen, it finally happened. The moment that the left never saw coming. President Donald J. Trump just walked straight into the Democrats' favorite fortress, Obamacare, and flipped the entire table. So after years of lectures about healthcare for all, Trump looked them dead in the eye and said, fine, let's give the money to the people instead of your rich insurance donors. And just like that, folks, boom, the party that claims to fight for the little guy is now defending billion-dollar insurance giants. Now, this isn't a policy tweak. This is a political ambush, the biggest FAFO moment since 2016. Because the same Democrats who spent a decade screaming that corporations were the villains, they're now begging these corporations to keep their government checks. Well, President Trump just hit them where it hurts. Not right there, but right in their identity. And the media meltdown, folks, oh, it's glorious. From CNN to MSNBC, every anchor is clutching their pearls. Oh my God, they're trying to explain why helping Americans directly is suddenly a threat to democracy. Yeah, go figure. But here's the twist, guys. This isn't just about healthcare. This is about control. It is about who decides how your money gets spent, you or them. Well, tonight, we're breaking down exactly how President Trump just turned Obamacare upside down, exposed the left's biggest hypocrisy, and forced them to defend the very system that they built to enslave the middle class. Because when you make the swamp play defense for big insurance, oh, you already know that they've finally been outsmarted. So buckle up, folks, because what you're about to hear may be the most brilliant political reversal in modern history. Hit the like button and subscribe. Have you ever seen someone just kind of pull the ultimate Uno reverse card in real life? I mean, seriously, because this is exactly what President Trump just did. It started right after Chuck Schumer blinked during budget negotiations, trying to play tough, but really just kind of giving away too much too early. Well, Trump recognized that weakness and he pounced. Within hours, he flipped the entire conversation on its head. So while Democrats were busy patting themselves on the back, Trump just fired back with a massive FAFO masterstroke. Find out the hard way, okay? Well, he turned their sacred cow, Obamacare, into a battlefield. No warning, no hesitation, one move, and the power balance over healthcare money just shifted overnight from the Democrats to the people. And just like that, guys, Democrats went from smug to completely speechless. In fact, the trap had been set and they just walked right into it. Then came the shockwave. So President Trump announced his plan to redirect hundreds of billions of dollars in Obamacare subsidies, not to insurance companies, but directly to the American people. Can I get an amen, guys? Anybody want a check directly to the people? Drop a check to me in the comments down below, right? So let that sink in. For the first time in U.S. history, a sitting president just said, no more middlemen. Let Americans decide for themselves. Democrats didn't know whether to laugh or to scream. Their entire talking point collapsed overnight. In fact, the same politicians who spent decades railing against corporate greed, they're now forced to defend the very same insurance corporations they once swore to destroy. This is a political checkmate, folks. Trump didn't just oppose a reform. He detonated a political grenade in the heart of the left's identity. And that move was very bold. It was unexpected and utterly brilliant. He didn't just rewrite healthcare debate, he rewired it. Now, here's the truth, folks. Obamacare made Wall Street rich and Main Street broke, didn't they? Right? I mean, since the law passed, insurance companies have seen stock gains of upwards of 1,000%, while average Americans got slammed with record premiums and deductibles. Now, Democrats, they called it affordable. Now, I don't know whose definition of affordable that was, but it was only affordable to the corporations that were cashing the government checks. Trump looked at the racket and said, enough. By redirecting those subsidies to the people, he's ripping billions of dollars right out of big insurance companies' pockets and handing it right back to taxpayers. That's not socialism, that's justice. This is a massive economic correction after years of crony corruption and the panic on the trading floor. I mean, you could hear it echoing from Wall Street to Washington, D.C., because for once, the American people and not the shareholders are finally getting paid first. Now, here's a secret. There's no one-size-fits-all Medicare plan. It just doesn't exist. But most people never compare options, and that's where they lose. This is why I partner with Chapter, because they compare every Medicare option side by side until you find the perfect fit. And one of our viewers, she said, I thought all these plans were the same, but Chapter showed me that they're not. So let me ask, do you want the same plan as everybody else, or do you want the plan that's right for you? Now, most people, they're already calling the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. And speaking of results, check this out, guys. Kevin Antley, 612, he wrote, Ron, Chapter helped me save $700 a year. That is a blessing. Praise the Lord and thank you, Ron. Guys, drop an amen down below if you're happy to hear about what's possible when you call Chapter. This is exactly what happens when you compare your options and, well, you get to keep more of your money. And, oh man, guys, this whole meltdown, it was absolutely immediate. Liberal pundits, blue check activists, even Senator Chris Murphy started howling that President Trump's plan would destroy the market. Now, the irony is priceless because now these are the same Democrats who spent years accusing Republicans of being bought by big corporations. And now they are the ones that are fighting tooth and nail for the health insurance company and the health insurance industry. This is the biggest mask slip in modern politics, guys. Overnight, the so-called party of the people, they straight up became the party of profits. And the hypocrisy is radioactive. Look, they're saying that redirecting money to citizens is dangerous. Dangerous to who? What, the donors? Their narrative? Trump just forced them to pick, and they chose big insurance companies over the American worker. That's not just political confusion. That is an identity crisis televised in real time. Now, here's where the real fight begins. Democrats don't just hate Trump's plan. They fear what it represents. For decades, they've kept Americans hooked on government dependency, using subsidies and mandates like shackles. They don't want you making your own healthcare decisions. They want you to be grateful to them for permission, treating you like a child. You see what I'm saying here, guys? But President Trump's move breaks the chain. So instead of the government playing middleman, you get the cash. You pick the plan. You get to control your own future. Because if Americans realize that, they can manage their healthcare, then what's next? Their money, their schools, their energy. Trump's plan doesn't just threaten Obamacare. It threatens the entire democratic model of control. And this right there, guys, this is why they're losing their minds on every major network tonight. And so the support came in fast. Look, Senator Rick Scott from Florida stepped up within hours saying, I'm writing the bill right now. So he proposed a version that funnels the redirected funds straight into health savings accounts, HSAs. That way Americans can buy their own coverage directly. Brilliant. It's simple, it's clean, it's empowering. Then came Lindsey Graham calling President Trump's proposal simply brilliant and a pure free market solution. Now, together, they have reframed healthcare as part of America's first economy. Competition drives prices down. Freedom drives quality up. That's just how it works. Even moderate Republicans are starting to get behind this. And they're saying that this is the first real reform idea in years that puts voters first instead of lobbyists. The tide is clearly turning, folks, and Democrats can't stop it. They can only panic as it unfolds. Now, here's where it gets laughable, okay? Democrats rolled out their usual talking points. This will destroy the market. The people with pre-existing conditions will lose coverage. Junk plans will flood the system. It's the same scare tactics that they've been using for 15 years? But President Trump just fired back with something Washington forgot even existed. Common sense. He said, we trust the American people more than we trust bureaucrats. Simple, direct, and devastating. Because behind every Democratic argument lies one assumption, that you're just too dumb to manage your own life. That's how they treat everybody. That's their entire philosophy. Fear and control. Trump just flipped the board game on them. He just put the choice back into your hands. And so when you empower people instead of politicians, establishment calls it chaos. But that's only because they're terrified of what freedom looks like. Now, you guys remember when Barack Obama promised that Obamacare would lower premiums by $2,500 per family? You guys remember when he said that you could keep your doctor and your plan? Yeah, none of that happened. Instead, premiums doubled, deductibles exploded, and families lost both their plans and their doctors. Oh, and who got rich? You guessed it, guys. The same corporations that the left swore that they were going to hold accountable. Did anybody go to jail? Drop a yes or no, guys. Did anybody go to jail? Obamacare became one of the biggest corporate welfare programs in U.S. history. Trump knows it, and Americans lived it. This is why this new move here hit so hard. This is payback for a decade of lies. He's turning the Democrats' proudest achievements into the greatest embarrassment. The Affordable Care Act turned out to be anything but affordable, and so now Trump's rewriting the story with a single stroke of the pen. Now, let's talk about timing, because Trump didn't drop this bomb in a vacuum. As of November 2025, the federal government is still in a partial shutdown, and Democrats thought that they had Trump cornered. That's what they thought. They wanted to use the budget standoff in order to force him into keeping Obamacare subsidies alive for another year. But Trump went ahead and flipped the script. He turned that shutdown from a political trap into a negotiating weapon. So instead of caving, He said, fine, let's take your subsidies and give them to the people. All of a sudden, the Democrats' leverage disappeared. They can't reopen the government without admitting that their entire healthcare model enriches corporations. That would be political suicide. So they're now stuck defending the status quo while President Trump looks like the only one that's fighting for the taxpayers footing the bill. And so the media meltdown, you could see it from space, guys. CNN called Trump's plan reckless populism. MSNBC said that this was a threat to market stability. Look, the Washington Post ran headlines warning that it could collapse the healthcare system. Guys, I don't know if you realize this, but that right there, that is code for it's working. Because every time Trump puts power back into the hands of the people, the corporate press screams chaos. Meanwhile, conservative outlets are calling it the boldest healthcare reform in half a century. They're right. Trump just outsmarted the establishment again. And so while the press lines up to defend big insurance, you already know that the panic is real. The same media that spent years pretending to hate corporations now kneels at their feet because Trump dared to touch their sacred cow, Obamacare. Now, every major crash has one thing in common: calm just before the storm. The media says, oh, everything's fine. The Fed says inflation's under control. And then, boom, the bottom drops out. This is why I partnered with Noble Gold Investments, guys, to help people protect their savings before the headlines hit. They make it very simple to own physical gold and silver stored safely in your name, giving you real control when paper promises start to fail. Now, most people who call, they walk away saying, well, that just makes sense. And this is why thousands are calling right now to Noble Gold at 877-646-5347, or they're visiting RonYatesGold.com to download their free wealth protection kit. I've left a link for you down below. You can click that, because if history repeats itself, and it always does, the calm won't last. Make your move before that storm hits. Now, out in the real world, beyond the DC bubble, Americans are cheering. Millions of working class families who have been crushed by premiums are finally seeing hope. In fact, the same people who were told nothing can be done, well, they're now hearing Trump say, you deserve the money, not the corporations. That message hits deep. For retirees, small business owners, and parents barely making it, this isn't politics. This is survival. Viewers on social media, they're saying things like, well, finally somebody's giving it back to us. Democrats can't compete with that kind of emotional truth. They've already built a system that punished work and rewarded dependence. Trump's flipping it, and voters see it. This isn't just policy. This is payback for a decade of being ignored. And so this is why this whole story is spreading like wildfire. And so meanwhile, across the globe, financial markets are sweating. Insurance stocks dipped the moment that President Trump's statement hit the wire. Look, Wall Street elites started calling it a healthcare earthquake. But here's what they don't understand. This isn't a crash. This is a correction. Trump's simply enforcing the same America First principle that he used in trade, tariffs, and energy. Make the system serve the people, not the institutions. And then predictably, the international press is panicking. European outlets are calling it unpredictable populism. Translation, the global elite just lost another golden goose. But average Americans, they're out in the streets celebrating, because when billion-dollar insurers tremble when families breathe a little bit easier, that's not instability. That is justice finally catching up. The message is clear. Under President Trump, the free ride for big insurance is over. Now, I want to zoom out just for a second, guys, because this isn't just a fight about healthcare. This is about freedom versus control. For decades, Democrats have operated on one core belief: the government knows better than you. They want to decide what coverage you need, how much you need to pay, which doctors you're allowed to see. Trump shattered that idea overnight. And so by redirecting the funds to individuals, he turned healthcare into a freedom issue, not a bureaucratic one. So it's not just about the premiums. It's about power. Do you trust Washington to choose for you, or do you trust yourself? That is literally the philosophical earthquake that President Trump just unleashed. Once people taste choice, real unrestricted choice, you can't put that genie back in the bottle, and the left already knows that. And so this is why they're terrified. Now, here's the political reality. Trump just trapped the entire Democratic Party in their own narrative. Every statement that they make defending Obamacare now sounds like a defense of corporate greed. They're cornered, and they already know that. If they attack the plan, they look anti-freedom. If they support it, then they admit that Trump was right from day one. And that's not strategy. That's a checkmate. The same brand that built its brand on fighting the powerful is now on camera fighting for them. Now, Trump's playing 4D chess here. Drop a 4D chess down below. Meanwhile, they're still arguing over the rule book. And the beauty of it all? Well, he didn't need Congress to flip the narrative. He just needed the truth. One announcement, and the Democrats are defending everything that they once pretended to hate. That's what real political brilliance looks like. So what is the lesson here, folks? Well, I think it's rather simple. The Democrats, FAFO, found out the hard way. They tried to trap President Trump with their sacred Obama subsidies, and he turned it into one of the greatest political reversals in modern history. And so with one move, he exposed a decade of hypocrisy, stripped big insurance of its political armor, and reminded every American that your money belongs to you. That's the essence of the Trump doctrine. Put the people first, make the elites panic, and never apologize for winning. Didn't Trump say we're going to be winning so much that we're going to get tired of winning? Just drop a winning down below. And so tonight, Democrats are defending the corporations that they once called evil, while Americans are finally getting what they've earned: control, freedom, and dignity. This was more than a policy fight. This was a message. Play games with Trump, and you'll always find out. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.